Okay, so welcome back to our programming sessions. On the previous session, we are looking about the for loop. In this session, we will discuss about the while loop. So the while loop, like the previous for loop, they do the same, they save the same assignment, is to repeat a certain code several times. Now, on the while loop, this is a syntax or the format of the while loop. So we have initialization right here, and we have a condition that's a while, then we have a condition of the brackets, we have our statements right here, and we have our update. So all the three parts we saw on the for loop, they also appear on the while loop. The only difference is just the arrangement. So right here we have initialization, we have condition, and we have update right here. And our statements, the same, will remain on this part. So after looking at the syntax, let's look for examples, how we can implement it on the IDE, how we can implement our while loop on the IDE. So the first example is write a C++ program to print a message, welcome to programming class. But you want to print this message 10 times. How can the while loop save this task? So let's go back to our code block. So you can create a new project right here, or you can go to file and then new project right here. So this time I will use this one, click create new project. We have so many types of projects, and then we will select the console application. I will double click this. Our language is C++, and then our title, let me call this time this a while loop, like this. And then next, our compiler is still the same, GNU GCC compiler, and then I will finish up. So after this, you will find that our project is already created right here. On the sources, we will have the main.cpp. If you double click the main.cpp, we will have our default C++ program right here. So I will delete this one because inside here is where we want to write our codes, or we want to put our loop. Okay, so now look at the syntax. Let's go back and look at the syntax. First of all, we have to initialize, and then we have while, then condition, have our statements, and we have our update light at the end. Okay, so I will say as initialization, I will say int I is equal to 0 or is equal to 1. Now, this one will save as counting iteration. I will be counting our iteration because we have to print the message, welcome to programming class 10 times. So it will be counting our iteration as this is the first iteration, I will be equal to 1. Second iteration, I will be equal to 2. Third iteration, I will be to 3. Yeah, like that. And then looking at our syntax, we have while, then conditions. While, and then our condition here is that I should be less than or equal to 10. Because we want to, I should start at 1 and it should stop at 10. And then I will click enter and then open brackets, looking like how the syntax is. We have these brackets, the curly brackets, and then within here we have our statements. So I will write here our statement. Our statement is cout, and then welcome to programming class, right? Like that. Yeah, so this is our statement. Welcome to programming class. And if you look carefully at our syntax, is that at the end we have to update. And then what are we updating is that we are updating our counting variable because I is less than or equal to 10. Then we say I plus plus. So I plus plus is the same as writing, this is the same as writing I is equal to I plus 1. So if you write I plus plus, the same as writing I is equal to I plus 1. So for this time, I would prefer to use I plus plus. It means take I add 1. Yeah, that's the meaning. So if you run this one, yeah, it will print a message, welcome to programming class, welcome to programming class, but it will do it 10 times. Let's say I want to do it only 5 times, so it means I will change here and write 5. So it means I will start at 1 and I will stop at 5, but from 1 up to 5, I will be jumping by 1 step. So I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, I is equal to 4, then I is equal to 5. How do we achieve that jumping step? Is this line. We say I is equal to I plus 1. So if you run this one, you get welcome to programming class, but 5 times. So let's say you want to do it let's say 200 times. Let's just you put here 200. So I will start at 1 and I will stop at 200, and it will be adding from one iteration to another, it will be adding 1, add 1, add 1. So if you run this one, yeah, you will print the message, welcome to programming class 200 times. 200 times. Okay, now just out of curiosity, let's say we don't put the update, we don't update this. Let's delete this time. And then click run. Yeah, after that, you see here, right here at the bottom, this is what we call a forever loop. This loop will continue running. Why? It is because we didn't update I, so I is always less than, I is always 1. So if I is always 1, it means 1 is always less than or equal to 200, because there is no update here. It means we are not increasing the value of 1. If we are not increasing the value of 1, the value of I, it means I will always be less than or equal to 200. So it will learn forever. Why it is learning forever? Because I, which is 1, now 1 is less than or equal to 100. Okay, to solve this, it means you have to update here, right here. Say I is equal to I is equal to I plus 1. If you put this line and then run, yeah, it will run only 200 times and then it will stop. Why? Because at this point, I is increasing. So I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2. So it will reach a point where I will not satisfy this condition. I will be equal to 201, and 201 is not less than or equal to 200. Yeah. So that's how you can print a certain message several times using a while loop. Okay, so now let's go to second example. Our second example was to print all even numbers. Okay, let's modify a bit now. Instead of even numbers, let's use odd numbers. Yeah, because the even numbers, we did it using a for loop. Now let's use odd numbers between 0 and 100. And we know that odd numbers between 0 and 100, odd numbers is 1, then 3, then 5, then 7, and so on. Yeah, so these are odd numbers between 0 and 100. How do you print this one? Because if you want to do it manually, it means you have to add using your head manually. Then this is comma 9, comma 11. So this is very hectic work. You can simply do it using a program. And now let's go back here and modify our program. Modify our while loop. So we know that our odd numbers start from 1 and stop at 99. So as a criteria is that we initialize it to be our I to be 1, and we stop it when it is greater than 99. So back here we'll say I is equal to 1, but here we'll say I should be less than or equal to 99. And then want to print I, it means we will say C out, and then we'll say I, and then end line. Yeah, like this. So I will start at 1, and I will be less than or equal to 99, and then we need to I update here. So I will say I is equal to I. So I is equal to I plus, then guess what? This time it will not be equal to 1. We will not say 1. Why? Because odd numbers always start from 1 and the next is 3. So it means we are adding 2. The next one is 5. It means we are adding 2. So here we say 2. And then like this. Yeah, so if you print this one, if you run this program, yeah, so this is 99, the last number, and the first number here is 1. So you see it is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, like that. So these are all odd numbers between 0 and 100. The technique is that you print it, you assign the starting value. Our starting value is 1. And you put a condition where to stop is when you are greater than 99. And how to move from one number to another. You move from one number to another by adding 2, because these are odd numbers. Yeah, so that's all, and you can see it right here. So that was a second example. The last example is that write a C++ program to find the sum of all evens. So now we have modified this to odd. Yeah, find the sum of all odd numbers between 0 and 100. So let's go back to our code. This is how you can print all odd numbers between 0 and 100. But if you want to find the sum, it means you have to declare another variable here. I have to declare another variable here. I will say int sum is equal to 0. So we initialize it to 0 because we want this variable to store the sum. And the sum always, we initialize at the beginning to be equal to 0. So right here, we will assign, we say sum is equal to sum plus I. So in this case, we will be taking the values of I and then adding it on the sum. So we have our I, so I are odd numbers, and for each odd number we will store it on the sum. We add on the same container of our sum. So right here we are done. In this case, if we can run this program, we will find the sum of all odd numbers between 0 and 100. Yeah, so it finds the sum, but guess what? We didn't print the final answer. So right here after the code, after the loop, we will need to print the final answer. How do we print? It means we say cout, and then we say the sum of all odd numbers between 0 and 100 is, I will say, then out here we have to say sum. and run. So if you run this one, yeah, it will say the sum of all odd numbers between 0 and 100 is 2,500. So that's a sum of all odd numbers between 0 and 100. So I hope you have enjoyed. As a recap with that, a while loop has the following syntax. We have to initialize, and then we have while, then we have our condition. Our statements will be here, but we need to update here at the end. So this is a while loop, and we did some few examples there. So I will stop there for now, and please stay tuned. Our next video is on the do while loop. Thank you.